slideshow?
Yep.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to move you guys to the left. Okay, all right. So let's talk about a little bit on what's going on now. We were all thrown into a conversation. Thank you, Kristen. She's texting me about something about this class. So one interesting thing that happened, when we all got stuck with this COVID-19 situation, we all got confined to our spaces, big or small. And I live in a high-rise condo in the city, and I have a 2-bedroom condo. My wife is on calls all day. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she's in control. Obviously, she runs the house, and I'm confined to one space. That's why you see the bed headboard behind. I'm confined to one bedroom. My wife's confined to the other, and my daughter has access to the play area, the living space, so she can have more space to run, and then the kitchen because the food is there. So it's we are confined in our spaces, and I seem like I know every spot on the carpet in my bedroom at this point because I'm talking and walking a lot. So it brought a new meaning to time management. I have to spend time. Before it was relatively in a different way. My life was busy running different businesses, but it still was. Once you leave the home and you drop your daughter to school, then you sort of have your own time from 9 a.m. to I get back home around like 7. So you have 10 hours to yourself. And the question was time management was how do you manage your work only? Now it's Monday to Sunday. You have to manage your family as well. So your time management became more of not just your work, but how do you manage your family, your significant other, your friends, your family, along with work. And then you also have to do time management because if you're forced to go out of the house, you actually will be doing certain things because the surrounding or the environment forces you to do certain things. Now you're sitting on a bed and trying to conduct business, it's a different mindset. So while I was thinking about this class today, I want to talk a lot more about not just reminding you that time management is not just purely for business. It also is very handy, and it's something that we need to do for our family as well. And I was guilty for the first week or 2 weeks while I was trying to figure out right after March 17th when we got stuck at home. I did not know what I just started working 20 hours a day, and then after day, I kept thinking, okay, now I have to just formalize new processes in place. And I'll spend more time doing tomorrow. Or, it's just Mayday time. I'm going to spend time doing something tomorrow. And then a week went by and I thought, okay, when the weekend comes in, I'll spend more time. And then that particular weekend was just miserable because we were still in the middle of a million questions and we were reading all the documentation coming out. Then another week went by. And in the second weekend, I couldn't spend time with my family. I took a step back myself and said, this is not going to work. This is not going to work for the next 1 month. When the first 2 weeks, I did not spend time more than an hour with my wife and daughter sitting within reach. I can hear them sitting outside and doing some stuff, but I just never went out. I was on calls or on the laptop all the time. And I'm sure each one of you probably went with something similar as well. So what do we do or what do we need to do? If this becomes, today's April 13th, we still have about 17 more days. And who knows, it might be extended further. And who knows the amount of businesses that open up and where does real estate lie into? And, I don't know if our offices will open up right away, depending on what the governor says. So if it's going to go into like another 30 days or more, how are we going to be doing this? And then are we motivated enough to actually have our business running the way that we want it to be doing as well? So that being said, I just want to go over some things that I have, thought about, put on paper a long time ago, and then we can also continue talking about how we think it should work, and I also want to discuss with you guys how are you guys coping up with this as well. So here we go. So the 80-20 rule. I want to remind this to everybody once again, and people who know the 80-20 rule. It's extremely versatile over and more like works uniform in almost any business you can relate to. For many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So if you look on the left on the graph, if you put 80% of the effort, it releases to 20% of the results. And that 20% of the results, 20% of the effort gives you 80% results. Therefore, you have to monitor very carefully in times. What is that actually is helpful for me in my life? Because there's a lot of noise that happens around us. And we get caught into this noise of day and night. What actions are not helping me make money, not making me happier? There's a good friend of mine who said something the other day. It said, if I have to quote him, he said, in life, we are always doing, every action can be thought of in two ways. Either you're running towards happiness or you're running away from pain. He says, anything you do in life, you can probably relate that to in two ways. So either you're running towards happiness or you're running away from pain. So I think what happens in that 80% of the effort that gives us 20% results is running away from pain. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Somebody asked me a question. I just want to get done with that person. I just want to answer. I just want to get done with this 5 to-do items in my list because they're just causing me a headache. So many things that we do is just trying to run away from pain. And the 20% is what gets us towards happiness. So, that's happiness means in our business is actually giving us results that's going to make us money. The effort will be how much time do I spend with my daughter that actually going to be happier for me, my big why, or doing house chores works, right? I have to do that as well. But if I just start doing random and say, today I'm going to clean up my whole storage room, is that beneficial than actually taking the trash out? So you can be busy, but you have to be careful about what purpose are you putting behind it as well, because we can always be busy. The question comes down to be, we all have the same number of hours in a day. Even the let's just take Gary Keller as an example. He has 160,000 agents somehow relating to reporting to him and many other businesses. How does he do what he does in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when I have the exact same number of hours in a day and I can't keep up? But the guy goes to the gym every day and I can't go to the gym every day because I'm too busy. Is it just because he has enough money that he can get things done, or he has actually better time management? I think we all can do a lot more things without paying someone. We just hide behind reasons and excuses, or actually tie ourselves up without understanding this 80-20 rule. So if we take our life into this 80-20 rule in our minds every day, whatever we're planning to do, divide and say, is this my top 20%? Or is this going to just give me 20% of the results? And I'm just trying to get done with this effort that I'm putting in. Sean, I love that you're getting very comfortable. It's cold out there, right? All right. So I'm going to give you some 8 time management tips. So set goals. There's a concept called SMART. I'm sure many of you have heard it. What we can do is, if in the chat you want to type in your email address, Kirsten, my associate, is on the call as well. She can just take your email address and I can just email this to you. So you don't have to worry about, there's nothing proprietary about it. I'm here to just help you out. So I'll just email this to everybody so you have it as well. So if you want to just put in the chat, any question that you have now, or if you want to just put in the chat your email, I'll have Kirsten email this to everybody. Okay, so there's a concept, there is something you must have heard about called SMART. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So what does specific mean? So if you are setting some goals and you want to allocate some time behind it, you have to keep in mind what kind of goals I'm going to set. So set up goals that are very, very specific. Exactly that needs to be attained. I am going to make 16 phone calls to my clients. I am going to work for 30 minutes. Or actually, I'm going to go to the gym today, and I'm going to expand on that, how the other items spells on it. Or I'm going to spend an hour with my daughter. I'm using my daughter as an example because part of my personal life. And then they have to be measurable. You can make specific goals, but if you cannot measure it, how are you going to do it? So with my daughter's scenario, I should say, I'm going to spend some quality time with my daughter. That's very specific. Then measurable will be, I'll spend at least 1 hour with my daughter. Then attainable, within realm of possibility, is still attainable. So you have to create something that is actually attainable. So in that 1 hour that I'm going to spend, I'm going to make sure I either go for a walk or play a game or read a book or do something. So do something that is actually attainable. So I'm setting up more specific goals. and has to be relevant. So instead of site, so this was talking about the website. So instead of saying on my site, I'm going to have visitors be very relevant and say, I want new customers. So with my daughter, I'm going to say, I'm going to actually teach her, I'm going to teach her how to solve a Rubik's Cube, which I'm doing these days. That's became very specific. I'm going to spend an hour. And then time bound. You have to have a due date to attain the goal. So I have to say that at 5 p.m. between 5 and 6, I'm going to do that. So imagine how I just went from, I'm going to spend quality time with my daughter to, I'm going to spend an hour of quality time with my daughter, teaching her how to to solve a Rubik's Cube between the hours of 5 and 6. So there's a difference between now how you manage time and you set goals, but they go hand in hand. So if I would, and then how do I achieve that goal of a 5 to 6 p.m. with my daughter to do exactly what I said if I don't live up to it? You can create your goals as much as you can. You can put your time management as much as you can. But if it's just a matter of putting it out there, and if I get around doing it, it's okay. And if I not, it's fine. You'll never, ever be able to achieve it. So that was a personal example. Let's take a business example. We always talked about databases, doing our education, continuing education, taking training classes, getting our previous past clients into getting into contact with them again. Whatever you think is needed, if you don't set up a schedule, very specific, what you want to get out of it, how are you going to attain it? Is that relevant? That is going to give you 80% results. And if it's going to be happening, you don't put it on your calendar, it will never happen. So if I were to show you my calendar, like I don't know if you can see it. Here's my meetings for the day. I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 meetings set up that I'm supposed to do today. And they're literally things like call the insurance company at 3 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. I have something I have to do, and it's in the calendar. At 3 p.m., right after this phone call, right after this meeting, first thing I'm going to do is look at my calendar and say, I don't have to think anymore. I know what needs to be done, and I'm not going to forget it. If you create a to-do list on your notebook and you don't really have, so creating a to-do list is specific enough, but it's not measurable unless you finish it. And it's not time bound. So we get around making a longer to-do list and never get around finishing it. So you have to do something on your calendar to make sure your to-do list exists and stick to it. You could say, I'm going to have 2 hours of prospecting or calling or lead generation or workout or health or whatever it might be. You have to put it on your calendar. I say this a lot. And I think it's a bold law that says if it doesn't exist, if it's not on your calendar, it does not exist. I never believed in it. I just thought it was another bold law that I shouldn't really care about thinking too much, because I have a great system myself with my notebook, which I always carry next to me. I'm always writing things down, and I just go back to my notebook and check it. It just became longer and longer and longer, and I did not realize what was important till I understood the concept of the 80-20 rule. I can have a to-do list as long as this, but I only have this many hours in a day to achieve them. So if I'm going to be having a goal of having this many lists to be finished, I will never achieve it. So we get stuck into doing the minuscule work, or the ones that are not important, or that doesn't drain our energy down because we are not fearful of it. We'll end up doing that first. And what happens? The major tasks, prospecting, lead generation, calling our previous clients, or going to the gym or something else, which are important for our health and for our business, that gets pushed behind because that's something that we don't want to do. As a human, it's very, very easy for us to go away from things that are actually same concept, right? What the friend was talking about. Either you go towards something that gives you pleasure, or you run away from something that gives you pain. So these items will probably just go away, or run away from them because I want to get done with them. It's just painful. I don't want to do that. So any questions, just raise your hand. I think Kirsten can unlock you if you have questions on the first couple of pages we talked about. Okay, moving along. Prioritize wisely. Make sure you're getting things done, but they should be the right things. So if you have a to-do list, you can number them from 1 to 4, or you can look at this thing. Look at important and urgent. If it's important and it's urgent, you do it right away. If it's important but it's not urgent, which means it's a not do or die situation. Something which is urgent but that is not important, so makes the most noise but no lasting value. And something that is not urgent and not important, it's an illusion of being busy, it's low priority, and you can do that later. This is in mind, how you should be doing, similarly, when I teach a P&L class, I say the same thing. There are 3 ways of looking at every expense. It's something that would make you money, it's something that is your ego, and it's something that is the client's ego. So you can always prioritize your to-do list into items that make sense and for you to do it earlier. And many times it's difficult, but just say no. At some point, just say no. Many people said no to this class. They didn't want to come. They just said no. They probably figured out this is the best time for them or not, and if this is priority for them or not. And I'm not being judgmental. It's just, we have so much around us. You cannot be in all places at all times. So at some point, you just have to say no and accept it. You have to decline a request to do what's more important. Here's another example. I used to be busy all the time because I used to give my time to everybody because I thought that's the right thing to do. And I realized many a times it wasn't a fruitful conversation. It was just about getting to know each other. So I was taking myself away from being productive to other people or being of value as compared to just telling my life story again and again. People say, oh, how did you get there? How do you buy Keller, Philadelphia? How did the condo show up? And I was just repeating myself in every meeting about my life story. And they want to learn from the life story. And maybe I guess that's why they'll write a book, but I don't think I'm there yet. But so I learned, I went to someone and I complained about it. It's like, I'm just wasting so much time in meetings and they're not really fruitful meetings. So their answer was, well, it's very simple. You don't have a good time management system. And so I'll give you some examples of this. They asked me, and like, how much time do you spend with them? I said, about an hour. I said, what do you talk for an hour? I said, I don't know. Sometimes like it's 40 minutes we're done or 30 minutes we're done. And we just dragged it because we had an hour conversation. It's the first thing first. If you think it's not worth an hour, schedule for 30 minutes. So I just doubled the amount of time in my day or number of meetings in my day. I just made 30 minutes. So well, that's interesting. And then he said, who are you meeting? I said, I don't know many a times what that agent's history is. They want to meet with me. They're part of the company, so I meet with them. And they said, well, do another thing. Are they trying to learn from you? I said, yes. And I said, so why don't you bring all of them together if you're repeating the same thing? So in time management, so I started setting up every 2 weeks of having a meeting in Keller, Philadelphia by saying, meet your OP every second Monday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. So instead of me spending 1 hour for everyone repeating my story, I asked everybody to come into the room or be on the call. You know how many people actually came? I never had more than 3 people come out of 400 people. So it's interesting. That really, really surprised me. I thought the room was going to be full because I was getting so many calls from people. What I realized in that meeting when the first time it happened was I had a limiting belief. I thought people really wanted to meet with me for something that could bring of value. Actually wasn't the case. They wanted to meet with me at their convenient time. So unless and until I could be available for their time, my time preference wasn't worth for my actual production. So let me rephrase it. So unless I could meet at their time, they didn't think I was important enough for them to meet at my time. So the question became is, the reason I'm giving you this story is many a times we feel that what we need to do is extremely important, but it may not be. So then people start coming to me at 12 to 1 p.m. on Mondays. And then I did one. And then sometimes you have people who want to come and meet with you because it's going to be a great conversation. So how do you reduce your 1 hour meeting to 30 minutes? I started asking them, can you please send me your 411 and your KPA before I meet with you so I can help you get better in business? You know how many people don't do their 411s and KPA? If people don't do their 411, can I really help them if they don't know what they need to do? Because they want to come and get the motivation. I cannot take them to the water and drink it too. I can just show them a few things that they should be doing. So isn't it better for them to actually spend time doing it? So here's some of the examples how I was able to get more out of a day, more out of a week by just doing better time management. So you have to look at your calendar, you have to look at your schedule, you have to look at your to-do list and start looking at that item by item to say, what is that I should not be doing? Or what is that I am doing that is using 80% of my time and only giving me 20% of the results? What is that actually makes me money? And am I only spending 20% of my time trying to make 80% of my business? And the reason why some people will only do 5 million or 7 million in their lives or $10 million in production in their life and never do 30 million or 50 million is because they never get away from here. There's not enough time in a day. You can just continue doing it day and night. So if you have to work for 10 hours a day and you're only focusing 2 hours of actual time into production, lead generation, or prospecting, you are going to create a certain amount of production. And if you don't change your ways, you will never, never, ever go beyond that. So you should look at, and here's an interesting thing. You should look back at your business last year and say, if I have always been a $3 million to $5 million production, or a $1 million to $2 million production, or a $8 million to $10 million production, and I have been consistently doing that for the longest period of time, what makes you think you'll actually change this year? And why do you think that you should not be a $15 to $20 million production? Or what is that person doing who's producing 20 million that you couldn't do? It comes down to two things: mindset and time management. And that's why I teach both those classes. Because it comes down to really, really what I want to achieve in my mindset. And am I going to be specifically spending my time doing exactly what needs to be done? If I'm not, it's a height of ignorance. Doing the same thing and expecting different results. If it didn't work last year or the year before or the year before, it's not going to work this year too. And probably somebody else will catch up with you and make your life more difficult. So move on to more productive costs, or if you should move to more things that are actually going to be making you more production. So look at your calendar, and you should, if you don't document your day and say, today was just a busy day, that is not going back to the screen. That is not being smart. Today was not a busy day. You have to find out today was a busy day doing what? Today was a busy day because I had to put out 5 fires. I had a busy day because I had to write 3 offers. It was a busy day because I had to go and meet the home inspector. Or did I have to go for 2 closings? Or was it just a busy day because I had to build my database or create my website? Within these all answers, you're missing a big component if you're saying that. Which tasks that you're doing are part of 80%? Is it really necessary for you to sit and create the agreement of sale? Can you leverage that? Or the addendums, or the replies, or the other seller's net closing costs, or following of the title company what's happening, or the other agent. Why aren't you using a transaction manager? Is paying that $300 to $400 or $500 that the client pays so much more money to you that actually you will take it away and make it part of your 80% effort, when you know your real job was the 20% that you did getting that into contract. And now you're spending 80% more time, which is going to give you 20% of the result. Your job was already done, the top 20%, that's going to give you the money. Now you need to start leveraging. So you have to look at your time on a daily basis. If you're not good in time management, if you don't have your schedule in a way that really makes sense, even when it does, you have to look at that week or the next day and say, what can I get out of my calendar? It's like a P&L class. We always say, what can you reduce from your expenses that you don't need that will not hurt your business as much? I do the same thing every week on my calendar. I schedule people, or I put myself in doing certain things, and I keep looking at it. What can I get out of my calendar? It's like my P&L. My time is the most important thing to me. What can I get out of my day-to-day and time management, or from my calendar, that allow me to do many more things? This is way more valuable. Okay. Plan ahead. Worst thing is to jump into a workday with no clear idea about what needs to be done. Do you guys all have a planner that you guys do on a daily basis for what's coming up in the week? Do you know what you're going to be doing on Thursday? If you don't know what you're going to be doing on Thursday, you don't have a good time management tool. If you don't know what your schedule is for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, you don't have a good time management tool. And that means you're treating your time your time is not worth it. You'll just fill it because it needs to be filled, because you woke up that day, you can actually fill your time. So things that you can do: plan the night before. Take 15 minutes to clear your desk and put together a list of next day's tasks. If you're not thinking what I'm going to do in the morning when I wake up, you'll be running behind the ball all day the next day. Sometimes you'll just try to stay busy because it makes us feel good about ourselves. Plan first thing in the morning, review the day and plan the tasks. If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. Does everybody understand the frog story? So there's 2 components to the frog story. Yeah, there's one that says, there's a story about the frog being in a boiling water, that sometimes we are so stuck up into our day-to-day, we don't realize that the change is happening. And then the change happens from a starting point to an ending point. But because we are in it, we don't feel the pain. So there's a concept of the frog, and this is in many, many books you must have, if you read through them, is if you take a frog and you put it in a pot of water and you start heating it up, the frog will stay there. The water heats up, the frog likes it. The water heats up more, now it's warmer. The frog is now getting accustomed to that water. It heats up more, it heats up more, it heats up more. At one point, it numbs the nerves of the frog that it can't really jump out of the water because it's hot enough. And when it's that hot, the frog dies. If you take the same frog or another frog, because this one was already dead, if you take another frog and you take a hot boiling water and you throw the frog into the hot water, it's going to jump back. So it's an interesting thing in life we can learn from that. That if we are, many people say that, I've been doing this for the last 10 years. I've been doing this for the last 20 years. I've been doing this for such a long time. I know what I'm doing. I always think of them as that frog. That things are changing around us and we're just trying to not see it because we prefer not to see it. But with the changing times, we're not willing to change ourselves. So I go back to the same statement again. If you want to be a $25, $30 million agent and you're not achieving that, I don't think anyone's parents, when the child is born, looks at them and says, I don't think you can do more than 3 million. I think the best you're going to do is like 3 million. If you got into the real estate business, I'm like taking an analogy, right? Oh, this person is going to be always, look at this kid. It's going to be a B-level producer or whatever sales business he gets into. That's not true. We all have the same option of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's what we do with the time. And if you ever felt you're doing something which is not being most productive, there's a gut feeling that you get out of it. If that gut says you're wasting your time, you really are wasting your time. Because sometimes the gut will tell you, our inner conscious will actually tell us. And if you think that it's not fair to your family for you to waste your time and you're telling them that I'm going out and making a business, you're lying to yourself and to them. And go and review your big why again. If your big why reminds you that it's your family is one of them, then don't cheat them. Use that time. You have certain amount of time. I'd rather be sitting at home and watching TV with my daughter. She would love that. But I sacrifice with the person that is my biggest why, so I can go and do things or make things or create opportunities that will actually help me achieve with what I want to do with her. But if I go out and just waste my time, and I'm just lying to her. So, take an emotional component to that as well. Are you really doing what you should be doing? Are you making your family and parents and daughters and kids and husbands and wives and children proud? So then you go back to your time management again and say, I have a limited number of time. What do I need to do in this to be able to achieve it? And then going back to the same frog story, that the idea is if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. It basically means if you have to do a job that you hate to do. I hate prospecting. I don't want to call people. I hate people on the phone. I just don't like, I don't like rejection. I don't want to start my day with people calling me and saying, no, I'm not interested. Then why are you in the sales business? You decide to be in the sales business, not the client. Can you imagine every jewelry shop when a client walks in and walks out and says, I'll come back, the guy just sits behind and cries? Or every retail store in the world, from bags to clothing to jackets to anything. I think every time a person goes in and goes out, that's the whole business. People go in, they look at stuff, they compare, they'll come back. But then the question becomes, can I be in front of you? And that's why some of the companies did better than other people. Amazon was able to be in touch with more people and stay in front of them. And when they did, they got better results. They got more loyalty. Are you staying in front of your people? And if you had to stay in front of people, what are you doing about it? Is that portion of the time that you have dedicated, is it on your calendar? So if you have to eat the frog, if you have to do the job that you hate to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's a job to eat two frogs, that means if you have two important stuff, then you do the one that is going to make you the most money. So you eat the biggest one first, or you challenge yourself to do the one that is more challenging or more difficult, because human instincts are to get away from doing the difficult task and pushing them away, because it gives us a sense of satisfaction. If I had 10 items on my to-do list and I achieved 7, I had a productive day. But those 7 items could be the 80% of the effort and 20% of the results. Eliminate distractions. It's interesting, right? Like right now at home, I have nobody walking to my office. I have nobody just swinging by. I had a question for you. We have none of those things. Food is easily available. I walk across 10 steps and I can heat up my food. I don't have an excuse to go and buy lunch and stand in queues. I have no reason to have any excuses. If I'm working 8 to 10 hours a day, you also have the same time. So start paying attention to the number of times someone interrupts you while in the midst of an important task. Track self-induced interruptions. They say it takes about 9 minutes for you to get back in the same mindset you were before somebody interrupted you. It takes 9 minutes to be the same level of thought process. That's why the concept of having a closed office spaces works, but then also the cultural component when the closed offices don't work. So you have to start figuring out on a daily basis what times. So people say you should go to the office. Absolutely. But if you're sitting in office all day, you're not being productive, because you're not, unless you're making calls sitting in the office as a separate person, great. Otherwise, you're going to get distracted by a ton of other things. You have to find that time. And being in the office, having a secluded space to make phone calls is extremely important. And then if you put on headsets on and you just take all that noise away, it's still good. I'm in the office all day making calls with people around me all the time. If you can afford that, great. If you're not, you got to figure that out. Leverage the team. It could be a real estate team, could be the leadership team, could be a pro coaching team, could be an accountability team. Whoever that is, you look at your 80% of your efforts that you're putting in. And then you look around yourself and say, who can I leverage that 80% that is only giving me 20% results? Who is that person that I can leverage? So people who are in teams, definitely go back to your teams. There are people who have leadership team. Go to KW Philadelphia's market center. There are all the people involved. Go back to, if you have a pro coaching program, do that. If you have an accountability partner, do that. But you have to have someone that you should be able to go to. And in our industry, we always have that. In our office space, especially within our team, and a lot of ownership team members are here, and also in Keller Philadelphia, that's our brokerage team. We have created enough support where somebody can go to someone. The easiest one that I have always seen is a transaction coordinator or a transaction manager. That is the most common wastage and part of your 80% effort. That people think, well, I can do it myself, or my client needs it, or I can have a better relationship with my client. I don't lose the control. All excuses and all limiting beliefs. All limiting beliefs. Is that I like the idea of being busy, gives me a satisfaction, and I think I don't have enough value or control or relationship with my client that if I didn't answer all their questions, they will actually leave me. Limiting belief, big time. Big time. One more thing I would say is that this is, I think, Josh Team was talking about in one of the Gary Keller's mastermind, or must be on the stage one day. He says, the client never, if you think the client is there because of you to help you find the property, the answer is yes. I can actually also voice against that, but let's say the answer is yes. But the reason why the client always calls you is because they want the information from you. That is wrong. The client always calls you for the information is because the way you have created your system, you're the only one that they know can give them the answer. You are the bottleneck that has created, and the process that you have created, that the client does not know what else to do but to call you. And the client would like the answer at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at night as well, and they have no choice but to call you. The client actually wants that information. Does not care if it comes through you or through the transaction manager. I want to know if the appraisal was completed and the result is in as a client. I don't care if you give it to me or if an automated email came to me. I needed that information. Unfortunately, an agent is the only one that is saying, I will hold on to the information and I will bring it to you when it becomes available. You have to look at those things, even from the smallest phone call. It only takes me 2 minutes to call the other agent or the other transaction manager or the lender, call them and follow up and get a copy of the appraisal. And once I have it, all I have to do is just forward to the client. There are 3 or 4 steps if everybody responded back at the same time. And if they didn't, you leave a voicemail. And if they call you back, you're on another phone call, you have another task to do. Then you need to call them back. And if the appraisal came through, then I have to sit and check, make sure the appraisal is done properly, or the PDF is attached, and I have to forward it. You probably end up spending between 15 minutes to 30 minutes for one task. The same thing with first deposit, second deposit, and other stuff. So you have to start looking at people around you and saying, who can I leverage? From websites to transaction management, to assistant programs, to media director. And that's the reason why all these jobs gets created or the work comes in because, or the roles gets created because those are the most common ones that people should be using. Running a successful small business, and you guys are all business people, running a successful small business depends on the owner's ability to think about what lies ahead and not get mired down in day-to-day operations. You are the business owner for yourself. You have to think it of a business of thinking ahead and knowing what do I plan and how do I build it in the future, not getting tied up on a day-to-day. Just being busy does not make you a good business person. So track your time. How many productive minutes are you actually packing in each week? And keeping in track of time, so 15 minutes left. How many productive minutes are you actually packing in each week? Start from a day. Every day, write down. So you should do this. Every day, the night before, plan your next day. Write it down on your calendar, making sure that here's what I'm going to achieve the next day. And when the day ends, go back and reflect on it and say, did I actually achieve what I was planning to do? will be a good test for yourself to know, is this something that I think I can achieve, or is it something I'm actually achieving? Then continue adding it on a daily basis to see how much actually you're producing in a week. And track to see, what are you spending most time on? Is it a valuable asset, or is it being wasted? So once you do it on a daily basis, and that's part of what 411 means, right? So for 4 weeks, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a daily basis, you have to break it down to a measurable goal. If you don't know on a daily basis what you're doing, how are you going to know how your day is going to go by, or the week is going to go by, or the month, or the year? Take time for yourself. Most of us forget this in the hustle and bustle of running a successful business. I am as guilty as it comes. I have to either be reminded by somebody in my life, usually it's my wife, and then my daughter will start voicing it as well, or it's people around me who will say, you need to stop sending emails at 2 o'clock in the morning. I get sucked into so bad, and every once in a while I have to come out of it. Getting plenty of sleep and exercise. I write this down every single time. I even have a note in my bathroom that says, did you sleep enough today? And I always like shake my head. I was like, nah, I need to do that. I need to do that tonight. When I'm brushing or talking to my daughter, I look at her, I was like, tonight we're going to sleep earlier. It's something I need to have my own accountability partner, and my daughter, my wife are my accountability partners for that. They will have to force me to go to bed earlier. Getting plenty of sleep and exercise is crucial to maintaining any upward growth trajectory. Some free time each day to spend on the people and things you love outside of your business is important for your mental health and can help you keep you energized and passionate about your work. That's what happens, right? Many of us will say, I'm drained out. I'm depressed. I'm burnt out. It's because we don't do what we should be doing that gives us the most happiness. And I'm personally going back to my wife and daughter scenario. I need to spend time with my daughter. That gives them the most happiness. And when I don't do that, it drains me out faster because I feel I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing all the time. To me, work is what I enjoy. I really enjoy it. But then it becomes too much. It makes me realize that it's not achieving what I really want to achieve or why I'm doing it. Complete your most important and demanding tasks first thing in the morning. Work more on your business, less in your business. That was a leverage component that we talked about. Learn what leverage is and become a master of it. Learn also how to delegate. Do the hard things in life and life will be easy. Do the easy things in life and life will be hard. So if you don't want to prospect, lead generate, build your database, go to open houses, learn the market, read the news, make phone calls, attend training classes because this is boring and it's hard, this is what makes your life easy. Because you do those things. Find me one person who's very successful and didn't have to work hard for it. Even the person who won the lottery actually spent more time than the person who didn't buy the lottery ticket. Act like a professional so you can get paid like a professional. What it basically means is if you don't do the things that you're supposed to do and value your time like a professional, then at the end of the year, the amount of money you'll make, and you calculate by the number of hours you put in, you will be making that $5 an hour. If you want to make the $100 an hour or $300 an hour, you'll have to do things and act like a professional. Do you ever see a doctor spending, when you go to do a surgeon, actually sitting at front desk and actually having you check in? No. Do you ever see the person who once checks in into doctor's office to take your vital statistics? No. They have all figured out who is out there willing to do something that I need part of my process, but I don't have to do because I'm valuable much more than that, or my time is valuable much more than that. It's an important task. Checking insurance is extremely important. It's the first phase to the company. Then having vital statistics is extremely important. Otherwise, the doctor can't make the decision. Even in a surgeon, the surgeon has a lot of people doing preparation before the performs. So you have to evaluate yourself and saying, in this real estate transaction or in this real estate business, where do I stand? Am I the person who's going to open the door? Am I the person who has a knowledge and experience to help them find the best assets or transactions or deals? Or am I also, after I've done that, can I do that? I will make me the most amount of money, or I'm actually also going to spend the time and energy into making sure I'll do the transaction afterwards. You have to decide. But we all know what makes us the most money is finding the client, finding the asset, and making sure the transaction actually happens or closing the deal. So if you find the client, buyer or seller, find the product, and have them under contract, it doesn't matter how it goes to closing after that. And it does not matter how you get to the point of getting to the client. You can outsource your Facebook page. You can outsource your blogs. You can outsource your mailers. You can outsource your website development. You can outsource all those things, but you still need to create a database. It's in your email, it's in your phone system. So if you don't have that time management built in to create what makes you the most money, it's useless. You will always be what you did last year. How will you move forward? Or you'll never be able to achieve what you want to achieve. So what you practice in private is what you'll be rewarded for in public. Think about it. What you practice in private is what you'll be rewarded for in public. If I have time in private, when I am dedicating 2 hours of doing prospecting every day, then that is going to start reflecting on my other transactions that others will see. They don't just happen randomly. People don't have people randomly saying, well, I like the name Sean Doe and I'm going to give him a call. No, he asked Sean, sorry, a unique example. They might actually. But people need to see the effort and name and branding and postcards and ads and videos. That's what matters. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Even ants are busy all day. I think we're doing good in time. It's 2:49. We'll leave some time for questions. Understand what your dollar per hour wage is and hire for the positions that will free up your time to increase your dollar per hour wage. That was the example I gave over the medical industry. Same thing with the chef in the restaurant industry. They don't seat people, they don't clean tables, they don't take the dishes out, they don't bring the food out. They may not even chop the vegetables. They have, every person in that role plays an important role. I'm not saying either one is less or more important. Each person has analyzed what are they good at and how they can maximize it. To me, a definition of success in life is trying to be the best of who I can be. And my constant struggle is figuring out, can I be better in the same amount of time? Time is something that I can control and will never come back, and I can't buy it. Every day you need to go to work like you're unemployed. You need to have the mindset that your job is to get hired by the end of the day. Your job is lead generation. Every day, if you don't lead generate, you will get stuck one day where there'll be no business, or there will not be enough business that you could have achieved. All of us have the same potential of making money. Each one of us. Nobody's more smart than the other one. It's just who puts in the time. If you're not willing to promote yourself, why should anyone else? I don't like putting my photograph on the business card. I don't like doing videos because I don't like my voice. I'm too shy in front of a camera. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't like doing open houses. I need to have my time on the weekends. I don't like calling people of rejection, whatever there might be. All excuses and reasons not to be successful. So if you are not willing to promote yourself on Facebook, if you are not willing to promote yourself and saying, I'm the best real estate agent and work for it, why should anyone else? Remember, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. And here's something that I think I talked in my most of the classes. If you do put on your calendar, and for whatever reason you have to erase it, you have to replace it. You can't say, I'm going to do 1 hour of prospecting and something major comes by and you can't do it. You have to do something different. That doesn't mean that today's job was it can just go away. And I'll just do prospecting tomorrow, lead generation tomorrow. Tomorrow just became two hours. And what else do I need to kick out because this was my biggest task that I need to achieve. Can't do that. Can't do that. I think let's start opening up for some questions. And we have some emails, but make those difficult phone calls first in the morning. Sean says, make those difficult phone calls first in the morning to get it over with instead of postponing that doesn't feel good to do. Okay. All right. So raise your hand or you can unmute yourself, and Kirsten can help us unmute you as well. Let's talk about some questions. Have to have questions, guys. Come on. No, nothing. Nobody has any comments.
I will just add to what you said, Gaurav. Don't fill your calendar just because you want a busy day, which you told the same thing in first time when you did this class. Don't fill the calendar just so that you feel good you have a busy day coming up. Right. I just wanted to, you missed that one. That was the point I took from your last class, which is good. My calendar was always busy. I was always like full day busy, but half of the things I did not need to do. So
I agree. You know, there's a level of satisfaction that I'm busy, right? Like, you know, it's an idea of like, I'm busy. I'm doing all those things. I'm busy. You know, they say people who take a lot of classes and training classes and come with tons and tons of notes, but they don't implement anything. So they're doing the right things or doing and taking the classes. They're extremely busy taking for 6 hours a day of classes. But if you don't implement it and you put in the calendar to do something in the future, it's useless. You won't be successful. So you have to continue making sure that whatever you're doing goes down to your 80-20 rule. You know, sometimes that 80% is important to take the classes because then your 20% can be more valuable. So once you have done that, then your 20% becomes of what do I need to do to make 80% of the money? Gavin says, I can't unmute myself as I get bad feedback. Okay, that's correct. I know sometimes Gavin has background noise, but that is a good takeaway for sure. I agree with Sean. So I don't know what Sean said, make those calls in the morning, correct. And thank you, Bobby, for your response to that as well. Anybody else? I know some of the people in this room, but you know, Roger, Mariah.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So you mentioned like from 3 o'clock to 3:15, you're going to be calling your insurance company. Yeah. How strict are you on yourself with those?
I have looked at my phone call 5 times to make sure I don't end up, I need to end this at 3.
Okay. So I guess my question would be, have you always been that way with sticking to a time frame, and how? Okay. So if you haven't, how did you start to implement that?
I'm pushing. So it's like I had a bad habit of biting nails. How do you stop it? I don't bite my nails. I didn't bite my nails before because I was nervous. I was just biting it because of force of habit. I told myself again and again, it's like, why do you bite your nail? And actually Bobby is smiling because Bobby was remember the conversation that Bobby and I had a long time ago? And we were talking about it, and says, and he's a good friend of mine, Bobby, I don't enjoy it. He's like, why do you bite your nails? You know, you're in such a different position with all the whole team members. Why do you bite your nails? Like, I don't even realize I do that. So you have to put in an effort in making sure that I am going to keep up with my time. So I'm holding myself self-accountable. So yes, I keep looking at, and I'm late all the time. This time today, because my day was so busy, I scheduled myself dot to dot, 15 minutes. And I told that the lady the lady is going to call me. I told her, you need to call me at 3 o'clock, otherwise I won't be available. She needs to get paid. So I know she's going to call me. So, you know, but I have some questions. I won't pay her online because I have some questions. So 3 to 3:15, but I have a call at 3:15 to 3:30 because I'm doing a Zoom call at 3:30. So Mariah, the answer is, I have not always been, she's calling me 2 minutes before. So I'm going to put it on hold. Can you hold on for 1 minute? Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Okay. So that, you know, so that is what's going to happen. So, you know, people are going to, I'm going to demand that time from her because of my time management. And yes, I was not always there. I'm always been known to be 10 minutes late. I'm trying to change that a lot. So, but if I don't stick to it, I have seen the consequences that the day gets sucked out of it. And if I don't talk to her at 3 o'clock or in 1 minute from now, she may hang up and I may not be able to get the answers I want. So, and she's also, think about her time management. She called me because she needs to get paid. So time management is extremely, extremely important. And that goes down back to mindset as well. If you ever are available, and I'm teaching in a class about mindset and attitude, I'd highly recommend that. I think it's a good class to talk about things.
Well, thank you so much.
One last question. Dawn is saying, I'm set to read The Power of Habit. Appears this would be a great resource to support time management. Absolutely. And then Sean says, thank you, Gaurav. My favorite is always replace, not erase from your calendar. I'm living by it now. You always replace, you don't erase. And then Gavin said, I'm also implementing writing the agenda for the next day, and it helps a lot for me. Thanks, G. You're always an inspiration and have such good suggestions. Okay, I always appreciate my team as well. Look at Gavin is writing her things down. Put in the calendar, guys. Put it in the calendar. And it comes down to time management. And if you look at a documentary that Bill Gates has on Netflix, it's a very interesting thing. And his assistant who manages his calendar, she was interviewed and said, how does he do these things? And she talks about, he's so particular about time. He will walk into a meeting, and if people are not there in 5 or 10 minutes later, he'll walk out because he knows it's going to go late. And he says, well, you'll miss a chance. He is in a position to do that. Not everybody is. But we are all in a position that we could walk into a meeting if the client walks in late and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that this could take longer. I just want to let you know up front that I have a 3:30 meeting that I have to go to. And I have to pick up something on the way, or make a reason and say, I have to do this at 3:30. So you're setting the right expectations, knowing this is going to go late. So if you set the right expectations, like, would it be okay with you if I leave at 3:30? I really have to get somewhere. And what you're telling in a nice way is that you're late and I have other things to do. But you're asking their permission in a nicer way by saying, I am so sorry. I didn't realize I had a 3:30 schedule again today. Would it be okay if I leave, if we leave at 3:30 and we can rush things a little bit more? Is the way you present it. I can assure you, no client is going to say, are you out of your mind? No. So you can easily do that by managing your own time. But if you let one thing go late, and that was my problem, I always let one thing go late, and she's still in hold. And then the next one goes by.
Yeah, you gotta go.
All right, guys. So 3 o'clock is wonderful. I think it's recorded. If anybody has to go back and check it again, wonderful. But I'll try to teach one class a week. A lot of good stuff that is going on.
Okay,
Go
thanks,
prospect,
Jay.
lead generate. That's the answer to this business. This business is very, very simple. It's not easy. Go lead generate. See you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Bye.
Thank you.